Okay, here we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your fiscal court. It's Tuesday, April 2nd. I hope you enjoyed April 4th yesterday. I did not receive one extra call. You didn't either? Did you all? Did you know? Oh, you did that. You did what? No, I didn't either. So I hope you had a good April Fool's Day yesterday. Most importantly, hopefully our weather is getting warmer. We can enjoy the blue skies and sunshine. It seems like our winter has been a really long winter. And I heard where bless his heart plucks upon the field, the groundhog is being sued. So, interesting, isn't it? If you need an agenda, they're back there on the back bench where Dennis Mitchell was sitting. Also, since it's getting warmer weather and we're cleaning up things now, take a bag or take a bag or two with you. Obviously, it says reduce, reuse, and recycle, and we have our slogan here, beautiful Bullitt County, because I believe our county is very, very beautiful. Be sure to take some pictures if you want them. They're on the right bench. I want to bring up Pastor Nate Young. He's with Mercy Hill Baptist Church. And Brother Nate's going to lead us in a prayer and then the pledge of flag. Welcome, Brother Nate.
Thank you. Let me start by just saying thank you so much. Each of you play a vital role in our community, a very important, significant role, and you probably don't hear that enough. And so let me just say thank you. I can imagine what you guys see day in and day out. You of all people know that we live in a broken world. So let me encourage you that with this before I pray that we have a Savior who has come to redeem a broken world. And I wanted to read to you out of Colossians chapter 1. This is very applicable to us today. And so from the day we heard, we have not ceased to pray for you, asking that you may be filled with the knowledge of His will and all spiritual wisdom and understanding, so as to walk in a manner worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing to Him, bearing fruit in every good work, and increasing in the knowledge of God. May you be strengthened with all power, according to His glorious might, for the endurance and patience with joy, giving thanks to the Father, who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of the saints in light. He has delivered us from the dominion of darkness and transferred us to the kingdom of His beloved Son, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins. Would you pray with me? Father, we thank you for forgiveness of sins. And I pray, Lord, that you would unite our community. I thank you for these leaders within our community that serve well. I pray that you would give them wisdom and discernment as they serve. I pray that you would fill your Spirit here, and that you would bless this community, unifying us to serve you for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Would you join me with the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Brother Nate. Magistrates, the next thing on our agenda, we need something on the bills in your package. There are the bills sent to you. Actually, there's a question, or if you have questions, feel free to ask. Thank you, Magistrate. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Ms. Brandon, you may call the roll.
Ms. Ashcroft?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes. Mr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ms. Sharp, the bill from the treasurer's office?
Yes, this is to your packet from the treasurer's office for real estate for March the 21st and March the 22nd for your approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Ms. Brown, you may call the roll.
Ms. Ashcroft? Yes. Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Thank you, Ms. Sharp. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from March the 19th, it looks like. Is that correct, Ms. Brown? If there are any changes that need to be made, let it be known. If not, action is requested.
Make a motion for the minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'll second it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on the minutes? Ms. Brandon, you may call the roll.
Ms. Ashcroft?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, I am very happy to bring up Travis Thomas and Simon, I forgot your last name.
Kima. Kima?
Kima.
Yes.
Kima, not Kima. Okay, as you notice, Simon has an accent, and he can tell you where he's from. These folks are with Dean, Thornton, Allen, and Ford. They have conducted our audit for, I know 1 year, perhaps 2 years. Thank you, Simon. Did an excellent job in explaining to my staff, your staff, what needs to happen, what needs to be done, and the consistency that they bring forward in their audits is excellent. So I'm going to let them make a presentation to the fiscal court, and Travis and Simon, take it away.
Okay, well, we have some information that Travis is passing out with regards to our budget. We were asked to come here today to, in essence, explain the benefits you can get from directly hiring your CPA as compared to where you currently are, which is known as on contract with the APA. Being audited by the APA, in essence, how the process works is that every year the APA decides whether they're going to perform your audit or whether they are going to subcontract your audit to a CPA firm. If they decide that they wish to pass on performing the audit themselves, they will include you in their standard RFP, which normally contains, a handful of other counties, sometimes as many as 12 or 13 counties. They'll send it out to local CPA firms. CPA firms will respond with their technical abilities to perform the work and also their fee quote. The APA will then go through those RFPs and they will select CPA firms for each of the counties that are contained within that RFP. In essence, what this means to Bullitt County is that you can find you have a procession of auditors come through the county every 2 years. The standard APA contract is a 1 year contract with a CPA firm with an option of a second year. Generally, the APA takes up their second year, so you will get audited for 2 years by a CPA firm, and then in the third year, the APA will go through the process again of deciding whether they want to do the audit or whether they want to include you again in that year's RFP. The APA does not really consider consistency when they do that process. It's a point-based system, and the CPA firm that scores the most points, in essence, gets the audit. You get no points awarded for having previously done the audit of that county. So I think Bullitt County has experienced something like 4 or 5 auditors over the past 8 to 10 years. Each auditor brings them with them, if you will, their own baggage and on what they think is more important and what they think is less important. So from the administration's perspective, you can find that you have a succession of different people that are putting emphasis on different things, and it can become somewhat confusing to have an auditor for the 2 years that says, okay, you should be concentrating on this and this, and then in the third year you get a different auditor come in that is focused on something completely different, and now the administration needs to switch tack and start dealing with what that new auditor considers to be important. For this reason, a lot of the larger counties actually go what's known as off contract, and they take control of auditor selection in-house. They remove themselves from the APA process and in essence issue their own RFP or negotiate their own contract. Whether they issue an RFP or not depends on their internal controls over purchasing, of what level they are required to obtain proposals, and whether their audit is going to be over that threshold or not. If the audit fee is going to be below that threshold, most counties will actually negotiate with a CPA firm that they know to be qualified to do the work rather than going through a formal RFP process. So in essence, if you go off contract, what you'll find yourself in is that you can contract with a CPA firm, and it will be up to you to decide how long that contract lasts. You can also, at the end of that contract, determine whether you're going to go back out to RFP, and whether you're going to hire a new CPA firm, or whether you would like to maintain the consistency of your existing CPA firm. In our experience, we found that a lot of the counties that we work with under contract for the APA have similar concerns to the administration's concerns here, that you can end up becoming confused by the lack of consistency and having to continually move backwards and forwards between different CPA firms, different personalities, and their different emphasis on what is important and what is not important. And those that we work with that have gone off contract and contract with a CPA firm directly, whether it be us or whether it be another qualified firm in Kentucky, they certainly appreciate the consistency that they receive from that CPA firm and the consistent advice that they get, and actually being, if you will, a full client of that firm rather than that firm acting as a subcontractor to the APA. As we do our work, we are not 100% in control of the work we do. We have to do the work that the APA requires, and whether or not we believe that to be valid for the county concerned. So we probably about 90%, 95% agree with the APA and the way they do that work, the way they do their work. But there is that small portion where we would do things differently, and any other CPA firm would tell you that they would do things differently if they were not bound by the contract with the APA. Lastly, we find timeliness is the other big issue that becomes the difference between a CPA firm and the APA. When you operate under the APA, they, shall we say, are very busy people, and they have a very limited staff. So it's not unusual for you to find that your financial statements are issued a year or maybe even a year after your year end. With a CPA firm, you can be much more in control of the timing of your audit and when you receive your financial statements. Generally, for our clients where we are subcontractors to the APA, we are a little quicker than the APA, and we normally do it within about 9 to 10 months of your year end. Again, delays caused by the APA, you need to wait for them to issue the RFP. Once they've issued it, we have to respond. They then have to make their decision. They then inform you of the decision. Then we negotiate the time that we can do it with the APA. We do our audit, and then our file goes to the APA, and then the APA reviews all of our work papers, and it can frequently be a month or two once we submit our audit to the APA that the APA actually then sign off on that audit and release it. If you contract directly with the CPA for our government clients where we are the direct auditor, we are not on subcontract with the APA, we normally issue 6 months of the fiscal year end, and for a county like Bullitt, that would probably be nearer 4 months. So you can see that's more timely than probably what you have received in the past from the APA and the CPA firm that's under subcontract with them. That's pretty much the remarks we had prepared, but we are more than willing to answer any questions that the magistrates or the judge may have.
Well, Simon and Travis, thank you all so much. You know, in our audits, we have had, how would it be? We've had problems we have had problems noted in our audits. And I would hope that this court would see fit to hire a finance officer. I've asked for that for many, many years. The least I think this district court would do is hire a firm that would be consistent with the findings of our financial statements in this county. And like you all have like you did consistently for 2 years, help the staff in my office to do what's right for the taxpayers of this county. Now, of course, I'm just one vote on fiscal court. When it comes to spending the taxpayers' money, or when it comes to making sure the taxpayers' money is being used wisely, or it's being watched over carefully, I'm just one vote. It takes 3 out of this fiscal court, 3 on this body to pass something or not to pass something. I would hope this fiscal court understands the importance of our duty in protecting the taxpayers' money and making sure it is being spent appropriately and making sure it's not being wasted or mistakes are occurring in which it's being lost for different entities or for different reasons. So I do thank you all so much for coming. Obviously, there are no questions on this board. I do thank you. I thank you for what you've done to help my administration. And maybe the people of Bullitt County will continue to advocate to their magistrate for more accountability in departments in this county.
You all now have our contact information. If there are any questions after this meeting, feel free to call either myself or Travis Thomas in the Louisville office, and we'll be more than willing to answer any questions you have, or to come back if you would require more information from us.
Audience, do you have any questions? After all, it is your tax dollars. Thank you, Simon.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for
We
your
really
time.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we don't have any planning and zoning issues or requests. So Judy Stowers, our director of our road department, will want to talk about the county road aid cooperative contract. But first, we'll have to pass the resolution on to Jimmy.
Yes, ma'am.
Come on up. Good morning to you.
Good morning, we always get every year the contract and resolution from the state on road aid money. So we start off with, we need to approve I need action request on the resolution to authorize the judge to sign the contract if so approved.
to give me permission to sign the resolution, please.
To sign the contract.
Um,
To sign the contract. The resolution gives you the authority to sign the
Yeah,
contract.
very-
So we're voting on the resolution or the contract?
You vote on the resolution, authorize
Somebody
me
needs
to,
to read it.
The resolution?
You want to read it?
That's fine.
You can read it. Resolution, fiscal court of Bullitt County, resolution adopting and approving the execution of a county road aid cooperative program contract between the fiscal court and the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet Department of Rural Municipal Aid for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013, as provided in the Kentucky Revised Statute and assessing all roads and streets referred to therein as being part of the county road system. Be it resolved by the fiscal court that the fiscal court does hereby accept all roads and streets referred to in said contract as being a part of the county road system, and the fiscal court does hereby ratify and adopt all statements, representations, warranties, covenants, and agreements contained in said contract, and does hereby accept said contract, and by such acceptance agrees to all the terms and conditions therein stated, and the judge executive of the county is hereby authorized and directed to sign said contract as set forward on behalf of the fiscal court of Bullitt County, and the county clerk of Bullitt County is hereby authorized and directed to certify thereto.
Thank you, County Attorney.
I make a motion to accept the resolution and contract.
Thank you, Magistrate.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Ms. Brandon, Belmont Road.
Ms. Ashcraft?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laszlo?
yes,
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carried.
now we got to do the contract, and the action report, on the contract with the state of $700,981, less 3% for emergency funds.
I think by adopting the resolution, they have adopted that.
Okay.
Because it specifically refers to the fact that they give her authority to sign and that they've certified that everything in the contract is correct.
I'm sorry, forward and both, so that's it.
I don't think they have that last part from the last year. I think that's-
That's all I got.
Thank you, Director Stivers. And Director Phillips, you don't have to do yet. Oh, you do, sorry, come on.
I placed before you this morning a recommendation to the judge to hire the following individuals for EMS. Steve Timmons, Travis Mattingly, Emily Van Vector, Scott Deli as full-time EMTs, Joe Hamilton, paramedic, and Victoria Burbrick, an EMT, part-time employees. EMTs will start out at $10.25 an hour with a 50-cent increase after 6 months of employment. Paramedic will start out at $14.25 with a 50-cent increase after 6 months of employment.
Want to make it out, make a motion to hire all of them or at the same time, doesn't matter? Okay, I make a motion to hire on a full-time basis, Ms. Brandon, you got that list, don't you? Okay. I make a motion to hire on a full-time basis as an EMT the following people: Steve Timmons, Travis Mattingly, Emily Van Vector, Scott, is it, how do you pronounce his last name? Deal? That's what that is. On a part-time basis, Joe Hamilton, Victoria Burbick. Now, Joe will be a paramedic, but Victoria will be a EMT at the stated salaries that Director Phillips mentioned. Do I hear a second to my motion?
I'll second it, but, whoever. But I would like to ask, Director Phillips a question. I understood that you lost an employee this morning.
Yes, we were informed that we lost another EMT that will be leaving to go to Amazon as a security guard to make more money.
And that's what you're having problems with, correct, is the money situation in keeping these people?
That's the biggest reason, yes, ma'am.
Well, maybe we get this salary thing ironed out, maybe they'll stick around, hopefully. But I just wondered if that's what it was that was causing the
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Well, Magistrate, you know, the court raised the dispatcher salaries by, was it $1? 911 dispatchers, did we raise it by $1?
It's still 11.50, so it was a 75-cent
Yeah.
increase.
Okay, we did that,
Mhm.
so I support this court raising the EMTs and paramedics the same way we did the dispatchers.
I don't have a problem with that, but we could have the salary committee that's working on this, and I'm wondering if we haven't really talked about, I wasn't at the last one because I was ill, but I think that perhaps we need to talk regarding what we're going to start them at in order to be able to go ahead and do the percentage or the increments or whatever we're going to, whatever that turns out to be. And then give them a start off at a higher rate.
Well, and I understand what you're saying. What concerns me is that the process, not the process, but actually getting something accomplished may get bogged down in that committee. Deputy Judge, you want to chime in to say anything? I just like to see results instead of year after year, nothing's happening. But, go ahead.
In the budget that we're submitting to fiscal court, we have put a 75-cent raise in the EMTs salaries, because that's still, even if they got the 50 cent on top of that, it's still going to be such a low. We just felt like we went ahead and put that in our budget to bring them up to where they should be, and that would be a good starting off.
That's kind of what I was referring to, that we can do that or
Well,
go ahead and
because
do
we just
that.
didn't know how long the process was, and
That's
it's going to be on the salary committee, so in the budget, there's definitely proposing that raise will already be in there.
So if the budget is passed, then they will automatically get that raise.
But I was already hearing, some non-support for the raise that I'm gonna put in my budget. I was already hearing some non-support for that. So again, I appreciate what you're saying, Magistrate, about the salary committee. I just think it's really great that this fiscal court did increase the salaries of the dispatchers without a long, drawn out. Well, actually, they've been waiting for a long, long time. But this court got the job done. We got it completed, got it moving, got it going. And I'm hopeful this court will do the same thing with the EMTs and the paramedics. Let's just raise the salaries. We do have the money is there. I think we all feel, most of us feel that those EMTs and paramedics deserve a better pay so that they don't keep leaving. And so my hope is that the Emergency Services Committee will recommend that to this fiscal court, like you did the dispatch salary increase, and then this court will say yes.
So you want to do that at the next EMS meeting? You want to make a motion today or what do you?
Whatever y'all want, whatever y'all want to do. We can wait until the Emergency Services Committee meeting, make that recommendation in the Emergency Services Committee meeting, like we did with dispatch. And then have the Emergency Services recommend to us to raise it or not raise it, whatever that committee wants to do. I don't think we're going to raise it. How does that sound?
That's fine. Really,
Does that sound good? Okay. Deputy Judge, we put it on the next agenda for the Emergency Services Committee. Thank you. Oh, we got a motion on the floor. Hire some people. Okay, any other questions or discussion? motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Well, it's dealing with EMS and all your employees and everything. Years ago and everything, I discussed the idea of everything to pay these people, regardless of where you start them out at, do a longevity. Anyone that has this longevity needs to be rewarded to stay in the county, regardless of what department they're in, EMS, road department, whatever department it is, and do it under the military style pay scale, where you're gradually moving these people up as the longevity plays a important role. If you do that, you'll never lose these employees. Never. The longevity has to play an important role in all your department heads. Just want to throw that out.
Thank you, Janice.
We will be approaching that in the salary committee meeting that we are.
It's long overdue. It's been needed for years and years and years.
Well, that's correct, but nothing was done back then, so now we're trying to get it caught up and
Right.
get it.
If you do that, you'll always keep these employees.
And Magistrate Ashford, yes, I agree. That's being addressed in our salary committee, the longevity and whatever other tactic that we use. And so it is being addressed, and it's thanks to your idea in developing the salary committee. That was an excellent idea. And this court is getting things accomplished. Ms. Craig, may you call the roll?
Ms. Ashball?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laszlo?
Yeah.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Okay, Director Hatfield, come on up.
Morning.
Good morning.
First off, we're headed to cleanup days. Judge, I checked with Pioneer News yesterday. We ran this ad 2 weeks, so I'm assuming y'all want to do that again next week or in a week. Is that okay with everybody?
Is that ad free?
Almost.
I said that for Tom for benefit.
We do, I think we split, I think we do one free and you all pay.
I think it's $540 for all of it. And I want to, again, do what we did last year. It's okay with the court to feed the inmates and workers. We just bought some hamburgers and hot dogs at Sam's. So I'd like to do that again, if that's okay. But we can't leave. Pardon?
We're going to make a motion for both of those items, because money is being spent. And
Okay.
I think this court needs to, that's what I've been told, is
Are you
this
cooking?
court needs to spend money.
Where are you cooking?
Right here.
Oh, what?
Are you cooking?
No, I'll probably unload it.
He'll be eating. Okay, Larry, thank you. So, does someone want to make a motion to the effect that this will run in the Pioneer News and that the fiscal court will pay for this ad and pay for the food for the workers?
If you have a comment or just one.
One of them.
I'll make a motion to run the ad in Pioneer and also to feed the.
Thank you. Thank you, Magistrate. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion?
Larry, what all can we bring to this,
You can bring just about anything that is not garbage, tires, Freon or anything
how
like
about
that.
on TV?
Yeah,
Okay,
yep,
I got three for you.
yep, sure can. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll be at Bullitt East on the 27th, where you and Joe will be at North Bullitt. And then 11 Junction, Shepherdsville, and Nichols, 13th.
You say you want me there on the 27th?
Yeah, you need to be there handing out literature.
I'll be cooking.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, and Ms. Brandon, you can call the roll.
Ms. Ashball?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, Director, anything else?
Yeah, I've got two more little items. One, the conservation, not conservation, extension office
wanted to know, would you all be interested in allowing Bullitt East students and some North Bullitt students to clean up the roadways a mile and pay them out of their litter abatement at $100 a mile?
Are the Boy Scouts wanting to do it as well?
Yes, I've been contacted by that too.
So let's put them both on the same.
Yeah, if you all want to do that, I would have
Is this on main thoroughfares?
I think the way the litter abatement agreement is made, if anybody's applied, as long as they're properly supervised, I don't think you can turn them down.
I don't know. They have to be a non-profit organization. A lot of counties do it. I have like a little form that they would get that, adopt the highway program, put their name on it, everything like that. And they would leave the bags and we'd go back and get them. We could write off of that too. It's never been done here, so, you know, I told them I'd bring it up and ask them if y'all wanted to try it.
I actually made a suggestion to the police chief too, because we have lots of police departments that work with the kids in the community. Whether it's public service, hours they need for school, or maybe something even they're being court ordered, that the officers are taking their own time to supervise that. This is a perfect thing for them to do.
Is it, I was just wondering about the liability to the county as far as.
They have to have insurance, I know that. Just like when they go work on anything, they have to have an insurance policy. I'm sure that's part of your agreement.
I'm sure it would be. I've never did it, but I've got to look into it.
All right.
Do,
I mean, we've never done this, so it's gonna take me a while to get everything in line to do this. So,
okay, so county attorney, do we have to even approve of allowing these organizations? Do we have to have a motion?
I think as long as they meet the criteria for the grant money, they have to be allowed. I don't know how you can exclude them.
I don't know.
Just bring to our attention who's wanting to do it,
Exactly.
Boy Scouts and the extension agency. You said the 4-H group that wants to do it?
The one that contacted me is the Bullitt, or Ruth from the extension office.
Yeah, but what group is it?
It's either Bullitt East, either basketball or baseball, and North Bullitt students between 16 and older, and then there's a lot of adults.
So it's not with the extension agency?
No, it's with the schools.
Okay, Ruth Channing is doing this with the school?
Yes, ma'am. That's my understanding. Yes. And Lori Pacino is with what they're calling the Main Street in Mount Washington. But I think they would do that with Mount Washington, but they're paying, not ours.
Okay.
A lot of people volunteer to help these non-profit groups, not just the police, but groups and just lots of people volunteer.
I'm glad we're doing it. I think it's a great way to utilize the litter abatement money. And then I'm getting emails from Andrea Clifford with the transportation department talking about adopt a highway. And I'm glad to see folks wanting, I'm glad to see it being done. Okay, well, there.
Everybody need a motion?
No.
Need a motion? Okay. And the last thing I have is I talked to y'all last week.
Larry, wait a minute, yes, Mike.
Quick question, on the school, that money obviously stays with that school, if they go out and clean it, $100 a mile, 50 cents.
Yeah, both sides.
That money goes to each individual school in Bullitt County. My only question is.
For the school,
The not-for-profit
it'll go
organization.
to the basketball team.
Right, okay, I understand that, and staying in the county, but my only question is Boy Scouts. We've had some Boy Scout functions that are big fundraisers, but that money doesn't stay in Bullitt County. It goes to the general fund thing throughout Boy Scouts in America. Is the money, if the Boy Scouts are in on this, is it the local Boy Scouts, there are some Boy Scout troops right here locally that really need some help. So does that stay?
They have to apply, Mike, to do it.
Okay.
So it's
No.
up to the organization to apply.
Yeah, I would want to keep it in Bullitt County.
Yeah, but not all Boy Scout fundraisers.
Right.
I think there's a condition on the grant that has to be looked. It's a Bullitt County litter abatement grant.
Yeah. I spoke, do you have anything?
No, that's it.
Larry, yeah, to make sure we've got a grasp on this program, let's, just get together with my office and we can make sure the money is staying in Bullitt County.
Yeah, you are, there's gonna be a paper trail, I can assure you, I've got anything to do with it. Yeah, I'm gonna put my name on it, it's gonna stay here. Yeah,
Yeah, we wanted to stay.
I ain't gonna get hoodwinked, I've been around here a long time. The next question, I talked to you all briefly in the last meeting about setting up a recycling program with the Judicial Center, the 9 Annex, and this building. And like I was explained last time, and I know we had a lot going on last meeting, this costs us absolutely nothing. There's no contract, there's no fee. We try, if we like it, then if we have over 500 pounds, it still doesn't cost us anything. It gives us time to monitor our garbage at all 3 locations to try to reduce our waste. I alone, our office on the 3rd floor probably does 50, 60 pound paper a month, just out of our office and cardboard. It's a single stream recycling. It's very, very easy. You throw everything in one aluminum, paper, cardboard,
Shredded paper.
Shredded
It's the
paper.
first time.
Yes. shredded paper. And, you know, it was just, when you all started talking about the dog kennel, I thought about that, and then I started thinking about the 5-year solid waste plan that we submitted. This was in it also, to try to step up our recycling. Like I say, they will do it for free for 4 months. And that'll give us time to get with Kevin and Mike and Mark here to see if we're reducing these dumpsters where we can cut our expenses. We don't, if it ain't working, I tell them, pull the dumpsters out of the dump. And I won't set the dumpsters anywhere that's gonna be in the way. I'll get with Mike and Kevin, Mark. They will bring us out 2 if we want it. And so, I mean, it's just something to try if you want to try.
They won't take paper down the street, right?
Yes, yes.
So you
That's the
have
problem, before, they wouldn't take any shredded paper.
Right.
And like my contract for child support, we have to shred everything, it's federal law. But we've been just throwing it away because we couldn't recycle.
That's probably 85% of our buildings.
Yeah. You probably got all of the recycling. And like I say, I'm gonna work real close on it, and if it's not working, I'm gonna pull it, and I'll let you know this, it's not gonna cost us anything to try.
Director, please, identify those buildings again. Please.
Okay, these are judicial buildings,
Okay.
the 9 Annex, and the courthouse.
Yes, Mr. Gary?
Are we gonna have separate containers in these buildings for people to throw recyclable items in, plastics?
We already have a lot of them.
Do we get all, okay?
Good. Not all of the officers, but I don't want to do it all one year and I'll have to do it next year. No. All right. But yeah, we're working towards this, yeah, sure.
Are you needing a motion on that, Larry?
Yeah, I would like to have one
And that's nothing for 4 months, right?
free for 4 months, and then I'll come back to you all and say, hey, you know, this is working good, we're getting it. They'll tell us how many pounds each dumpster is, and, or I'm gonna say, no, let's pull it and go back to what we were doing.
What are we looking at after 4 months?
It depends on how much waste we have. If after 4 months that I can go to Mike and Mark and Kevin and say, look, you don't have to, you can pick up this dumpster once every 2 weeks instead of once a week. That's gonna cut the expenses down. If it doesn't do that, and we're still getting over 500 pounds in the recycle dumpster, they'll pick it up for free. So we're still recycling for nothing. There's kind of, schools have started doing this.
So try and see.
Yes, yeah, and we can monitor it. That's about a 4-month period, is long enough to know whether or not, you know, what we got coming out of here. And they will come in free to each building and go over everything, how to recycle, what they want in there. And there's a way to lock it at night. There's also, once it's locked, they can still dump it. So I've been to their plant. It's pretty neat the way they do that.
And the name of the plant is?
It's QRS Recycling. It's in do all the Indiana. So what a call on fire here a while back,
Larry, there wouldn't be no consequences like the annex, I know if they had shredded comes. Now, if they canceled that, would it be a startup fee for them to get back if in 4 months this doesn't?
Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna leave that to each office. But, I'm not gonna get in on their business.
I'll make a motion to, go ahead and try this for 4 months since it is, a free pickup in the recycling and we'll go from there afterwards.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion?
Yes.
Okay, hearing no discussions or questions. Ms. Brand, call the roll, please.
Ms. Ashcraft?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts? Motion carried.
Any questions from any of y'all on cleanup days or any questions from the county court?
Where are we at the Kane property?
Who said that? What'd you say, Bruce?
I said, where are we at the Kane property?
The lady's father passed away. I've got, everything ready to go except the final, dump number. And I'm wanting to insert 25% buffer. And I'm just waiting to get permission from her. And then I'm gonna give it to the county attorney's office to get a right of entry for the company. And we should be good to go.
Okay, thank you.
See you all. Thank
Thank you, Director. And Judy Miller, Anderson, Mark Gardner, Mike Hannigan, Judy. And under old business. Number 1, I should request from the Southeast Bullitt Protection District annexation of the south side of Belmont Road. Mr. Freeman, you want to come up and say anything about this? Why don't you please explain, and why don't you explain why we're having to revisit this document? And let the court know that they don't have to vote. Thank you.
Certainly. I was approached by to represent Southeast Bullitt on this, who in turn was approached by these individual landowners who sought annexation. This was something that was requested by the individual property owners that are a part of this annexation. And initially, we put the petition together for the annexation. Unfortunately, I was not given a complete list of the properties that were to be included in the annexation. So everything went through the first time. Unfortunately, the list was incomplete. There is no statutory mechanism for amending an annexation. So what we had to do was sort of throw the old order out, and we're simply reenacting the annexation, only this time with a complete list of the properties.
Any questions for Mr. Freeman? Okay.
So this is new, basically. You're starting over.
Starting over.
No, we don't have to have another hearing.
No.
It's amendments or, that's all.
So that you know you publish the application paper, or you're not starting.
Well, it was published.
He's saying, are you starting the entire process over?
The answer to that is no. We're submitting an amended order. We're amending the old order. So the new list that's going to be a part of the annexation will be complete.
Well, Mr. Freeman, I'm going to sign again, and then we'll make a copy of it from my office. And I'll date it for today's date, which is 4/2/13.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, you're welcome. And why was the property left off, in your opinion?
The list was simply incomplete. It was given to me
Where did the
by,
list come from?
from Judy Hatfield at the Southeast Bullitt.
So he got an incomplete list?
He had an incomplete list.
So these people that you have added on there are still within that annexation part?
Correct. In fact, the property that was left off was one of the folks who sort of spearheaded the movement of the property owners to be annexed in the first place. It was one of the folks that was the leader of the group to become annexed.
So they're not actually taking more property, it's just the property that's left off?
Correct.
And again, I talked to the property owners way back when this first came about, and they want to be annexed. They're fine with it. Mr. Freeman, if you would just walk through that door right there, the deputy judge is making a copy from my office, and we'll have your copy. Nice to meet you, thanks for being here. Next, under new business, action is requested regarding updating the employee handbook. We talked about this at the last meeting. It was getting a lengthy discussion. We decided to pay for it. So,
Have you already done it? I thought that you and Bob were going to work on the handbook, and we were working on the salary.
That's not we dropped the ball.
Well, yeah. Maybe I read it. I read it all.
Danny called me drinking.
So what was you wanting to do, just discuss it?
Ruthie, the last time, I think, the county attorney asked us to give her some guidance on what we wanted. So, I can't recall what the minutes, what it said from the last meeting. Perhaps that was it, I don't know. But we do need a handbook, and I'm grateful that this court is wanting to update it, fix it, work it down. There's a lot of contradictions in it.
So this handbook that I received in this envelope here is the old one, correct?
Let me see what it's like. It has to be in my house, but let me make sure before I say yes to something. Yes, Magistrate, yes, that's the old one, which is what we're currently using. And that's what I was
I just got this one this morning. Oh, I don't see any. I just go up, so. Yeah.
Tom, do you remember if it was on March the 19th or
No, I don't think
24th?
it was that meeting, I think it was the one.
The one prior to.
Deputy Judge, can you go get my minutes from March, whatever the first meeting in March was? It's not in here. Thank you.
you remember that from the first meeting? I guess you don't have meeting that, huh? I'm just teasing with you.
No, you're not.
Yes,
You're
I
being
know.
straightforward and honest.
Yes.
I was too. I said, you drop the ball.
Oh, that's right. So I guess we just need to, oh, yeah. We just need to, well, we can all meet, so. One time.
I think this was an after process. We are there on the side.
We were talking about the salary committee, correct, and she, and the judge said, well, maybe you all can do it. Well, I think that we,
Yeah, and,
it's not on?
it's not on here, no. No, just it- Because here's the motion. Let's see, on motion of Magistrate Ashfall, seconded by Judge Roberts, and the fiscal court had concurred, it was ordered that the discussion about the personnel policy be and is tabled until March the 19th. So it would be here, where do you think?
I don't really think her on this one, I mean, in this one. I mean, nothing in here, that's all. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Phillips stated that the department heads are willing to work with the salary committee and the judge's office to rewrite the handbook. They just don't want to waste everyone's time if fiscal court isn't on board with it. When Magistrate Ashfall suggested using the old handbook as a guide, Ms. Robinson stated that there are various reasons they should not use the format at all. She advised that Hardin County probably has the best one she's seen, and it is the most like what the judge wanted when she first took office. She also mentioned that EMS is currently separate from the rest of the county, and they all need to come together to make the Bullitt County personnel policy. Mr. Bradshaw mentioned that in the corporate world, there is no discussion about salary. No one is supposed to know what anyone else makes, and an employee can be fired for even talking about it. That is all handled through HR. As to job descriptions, supervisors of each department should be able to relate a description, job descriptions, let's see what they're going to. Right? And there's nothing in March the 19th about it either. I'm gonna check YouTube, since our meetings are on YouTube, but anyway, go ahead, Magistrate. Obviously, it's not getting done.
Perhaps, does the county attorney have a copy of Hardin County's?
As I explained at that meeting in March, I can provide anyone that wants it with what we started working on and give my input on the questions that we need answers to, but nobody's got with me.
Well, let's, I particularly don't want to be on that committee if that's what we're going to use as a committee. But I don't know if, I mean, I don't know if we should go ahead and appoint a committee or how they want to, how the rest of the council wants to.
But what I had said is I'll be happy to meet with the committee, give them what I have, let them come up with what they want to do. But I'm not going to continue to
Right.
draft something until we have guidance on some key issues.
Right.
I also had made a statement at the time that I only have so many people, and we have 5 courts running at any given time. I have a full-time lawyer off right now who's had heart surgery. I do not know when he's going to be back, and Tammy is going to have a baby. There's really no stopping that. So, with that said, I mean, we're talking probably for I can dedicate any amount of time, it's gonna be mid-May.
Right.
And that's when the baby's gonna come, and I'm hoping Doug's back. It's taken every one of us to cover the dockets right now.
Okay. Well, that's what I was thinking. If we had a committee, I mean, that's the way the rest, everybody else wants to do, is if we had a committee, they could get the information from you that you had already done. And if you do have a Hardin County.
I've got several counties, but I've already started on one from 2 years ago that is our version, and it needs to be tweaked, it needs a lot of questions asked, but it's not something I'm gonna pull up on the computer right now in 5 seconds tape. I gotta put my mind back to where I wanna pull out, because I've got binders of notes, files, records to go over.
Okay.
I can do it, but it won't be today. And even since my last budget presentation, I've lost 2 employees because they don't know whether they're gonna have jobs or not. I can't really blame them on that. So in addition to the lawyers being out, we're covering for that shortage too while we're trying to find something. It's a lot.
With just this, no good one, but anyway, I don't know what you're off.
Majority of the magistrates, because at my time, putting funding in my budget for your office, I sure hope this report sees fit to keep it in there.
And I appreciate it, and I mean, it is what it is, but when you've got people who don't know whether they'll have a job in July, and I just laid off last July, I can't blame them for finding something else.
John, what's your thought?
Well, at the last salary committee meeting, this last Thursday night, unfortunately, Ruthie was not able to be there. I don't see Mr. Camino this morning. So myself and Deputy Judge and Judge Roberts was also there as an observer. At that meeting, there was discussed that I make a motion. Now I'm confused because people are talking about something being tabled. I'm not sure what we're tabling. Action requested regarding updating the employee handbook is on the agenda. I was assuming that was to be my motion, but I don't know if that has been tabled or if it has been forgotten or exactly how to proceed.
Commissioner, I think the judge had asked you to make a motion directing the directors to evaluate, to do evaluations on their.
Do you have your minutes from that
Yeah, let me
meeting?
go get my
Yeah.
minutes.
It was, when I got the minutes from the meeting, they passed was on, I remember, but that was on there.
Yeah, magistrate, that's the tabling thing, that happened the last meeting, to table this whole discussion, because it was getting lengthy, we were getting nowhere, so we decided to table the handbook to this meeting. That's my question. Now, in the salary committee, you said that you would make a motion to direct the directors to work with.
I know what I said. I can repeat what I said if that's the proper thing to do.
Well, what would it be?
Again, I was confused when we got talking about all this tabling this and not doing this and hurrying up this and we started talking
But John,
about giving
that was
people.
from the last meeting. The tabling was, okay, in the last fiscal court meeting, March the 19th, we said let's table the handbook issue until the April 2nd. Today is April 2nd. Now, new action to be taken. You can make that motion if you so desire. Now, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But you can make that motion from the salary committee.
Prepared to do that, I was trying to cooperate with powers of peers.
Go ahead. Listen.
My notes say that Judge Executive Melanie Roberts suggested that Magistrate Bradshaw make a motion at the next fiscal court meeting for all department heads to create job descriptions for their employees and to have them completed for presentation at the June 4th fiscal court meeting.
May I make a suggestion? Take this for what it's worth, but I have worked on this for hours, okay? This is exactly what I talked about on March 5th. My personal observation is we are putting the cart way in front of the horse, not just close. It would be my recommendation that before you start writing job descriptions, salaries, etc., that several key things need to be answered and resolved. Then you give them to this committee and let them figure out how they think best to tweak this together and bring back to you, okay? One of them is these job descriptions. You have to first determine, are you going to call a secretary and make a secretarial position a position uniform in the county? So someone can move from one department to another department and have the same description. Or are you going to make it by department and make a term of how you define a secretary different from planning and zoning? Then maybe it is in the judge executive's office, okay? That's key. Because until you make that decision, you can't really start talking about what are you going to do, how you're going to pay them. Are you going to set it a scale from the side, okay, a secretarial job will make between 10 and 15, but never over 15. Remember how we talked about that? And if you wanted to go up, you're going to have to go to another level. Or you just wanted to have it, we set it by department. And I talked to you all about what is the long-term danger of setting by department is what we've done now. And I used the example when I was deputy judge. When Judge Roberts came in, she had a secretary. And I'm not making a judgment on the secretary, but the secretary made more than all but 2 directors, okay? That she inherited when she was elected. That's what, we have to make these determinations before you just start making a job description and tweaking it for a department. You can have an overall job description and then break it down subtitles, and if you're in this department, you may do X, Y, and Z, okay? But you gotta make that decision. And you also want to make that decision based upon annual raises. Every year we go through this. Do we get a raise? Do we not get a raise? But then the question becomes, do you get a raise based on merit? Or do you get a raise based on performance? Or is it a combination of the two? Performance and you're in the service. And if you're getting close, if you've been here 17 years, but you've never moved on from your initial higher job description, you've maxed that out. Do you keep getting a full, if the raise is going to be 50 cents, you keep getting a full 50 cents or you get 2 or 3 cents? Because if not, you'll get that job again where it's way out of proportion to the other ones. Those are key things that have to be decided before anybody starts working on job descriptions, salaries, raises. Until you get that focus, you need that focus to tell the committee so they can start saying, okay, this is how we're going to make it fit in. That's what I keep saying over and over on direction. I don't think you can put together a very good work product, something that you all will use for years and years and years to come, unless you there has to be a direction to it. It can't be just like shoot everywhere and put it together. That's what we have now.
So what you're basically saying is the salary thing should be,
All of this is hooked together. I mean, I perfectly understood Magistrate Bradshaw's comments at that first meeting in March, coming from the private sector. People don't talk about raises, people don't talk about all that, and it's up to your employer. But we are not private sector. We are the public. None of that is confidential. You may say, I don't even want to put the salaries in the handbook. That's fine, then we don't put the raises in the handbook and we adjust that. I just need to know what direction, and the committee needs to know what direction. We're
talking about this for 2 years, and we're no farther along than we were 2 years ago.
I share that, that's why I quit working on it, because I can't get these basic answers. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. You cannot go forward and write a document if I don't know what direction you want to go in. And like I said at the March meeting, it is not my job to make policy. It is your all's job to make policy. And once you tell me what direction you want to go, I'll write something that goes that way. And then you all can tweak it and adjust it. But I don't know the answers to these questions. I need to know what direction you all want to go, and then you can get on this way. But I spent months of time when we first got here working on this, and I quit. Because all it is wasting my office's time that we could be doing something else, and I'm stuck.
Now, are you wanting the directors of each department to work on this, Monica?
At this point in time, until you all get these answers, nobody can really work on this unless you're just going the shotgun approach, and which is kind of what we got now. That's why our handbook conflicts in 5 or 6 different places right now. You need to say what direction you want us to go, answer those questions we just talked about. Then, if you're going to do it by committee or whatever, they may want to talk to the directors, but you know what? I started doing that initially and gave lots of them copies of different job descriptions from other counties, so they can tweak all that together. And if you've got one universal job description, then I got to tweak everything they put together. You see what I'm saying? I just don't know, are we going to do it separately by category? Are we going to have one overall description for the whole place? That way someone can move internally and their pay rate stays the same. Or if you do it individually, they'll move internally and their pay rate may not be the same for the same type of job. You see what I'm saying? I got to know which way. Nobody can put together a cohesive document that's going to work the way y'all want it to work until this is decided.
Fiscal court has to do this, right?
Yes.
Okay, basically, we need to get together as a group to do this. Is that?
You can schedule a special meeting, just geared straight toward that, and that's all we talk about, and you all, and I can try to supply you with whatever you need before, so you can have already read it to make these decisions, but you have to do it in public. I mean, it's required, but so does the committees. The committees have to meet in public. But you can call a special meeting and do it, and really, it needs to be done. I've said this since day one, it was one of the first things we needed to get done. And it's going to take some effort.
Yes.
So the first thing we actually need to do then is to come up with a date that's okay for everyone on this sitting up here that to have a meeting. You know, before.
You want to do a special meeting? That's exactly right. And I can try to get you together a list of things that we need to know, but it's the list, but pretty much I just keep telling you. So before a committee can be effective, before the directors can really add in their true opinions and suggestions, how would we ever do that if we don't know if we're going to run it department by department or we're going to run it as one county? And that fundamental question is, I mean, you can't get off the starting blocks with that.
County attorney, so are we as the salary committee kind of wasting our time until the handbook is in place?
I have said meeting after meeting after meeting, if you want my opinion on it, you're putting the cart before the horse. The court can sit there and vote on all these little tweaks of these answers, but where do they fall in the big scheme of things if you don't know if you're doing a county-wide job description, or if you're doing it department by department, if we're doing a county-wide salary gamut, if we have a start and an end point, or if you're doing it department by department, how are you doing your raises? Is it merit? Is it length of service? Is it whatever? You can't, and I'm not saying any one is more right than the other. It doesn't matter. I just need to know what direction.
Oh, I think it's
Just for instance, I don't think Dave's secretary change and Jared's secretary can be defined, drop it in any department and do a good job.
I think you're correct on that, and this is why.
A lawyer speaks a different language than an engineer. A road department speaks a different language than secretary secretaries that are just, you know, working at desk, hello, you'd like to see the judge, okay, I'll make you whatever. You cannot take the same person and put it in any one of those positions and do a good job because they don't speak the language. I mean, you know, people come in and want to speak to a lawyer and they use legal language, which I wouldn't even understand necessarily. So the secretary has, I think you need a legal secretary or a mechanical engineer secretary or, you know, different classifications just for a secretary. And so it would be department dependent.
Well, first off, and I'm not trying to get smart enough, legal secretary would never be in your mouth, okay? Because my office has its own set of policies and procedures, but my people aren't actually employees of fiscal court, okay? So most of the secretaries that you have work in planning and zoning, they work, wherever, for any, the health, EMS, whatever, okay? You can have a generic title and then have a subset that's broken down by area saying, okay, if you work through the secretary and EMS, in addition to what the county says, this is your generic job duties, these are specialized to the area in which you are working. These are specialized to planning and zoning. These are specialized to the office of the judge executive, okay? And you can have a cross-the-board salary thing that says, if you are employed as a secretary in any of these places, your lowest you can be hired at is $10. I'm just pulling out there. And the maximum is $15. And so, if that's what you choose to do, or you can choose exactly what you said, which would be department by department by department. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing I'm saying is that's what we have now, okay? And that's how you can come into a position where you could conceivably have someone that stayed with the county for 20 years and will make more than your directors. That's just the danger of it. That's the, nothing's more right than the other. I'm just trying to show you the difference.
So, do directors, when we do a 50% across the board rate, do the directors not get that rate?
That's up to you. I have no idea. My people don't get it. I mean, because mine are not fiscal court employees, so we'll have to.
Our directors do.
Okay.
All employees do that.
So, if a director is at $20 an hour and his worker is at 15, they all get a 50-cent raise every year. The worker's not ever going to get above the supervisor.
Oh, yes, they are, because you're assuming people stay the same amount of time. And that's how you end up with a secretary that makes $40,000. But
She's been here 20 years or whatever. I don't have a problem with that.
okay, and if that's the opinion of the court, that's fine.
I'm saying if they both start at the same time, it's not going to pass up yet.
This is the way you have to look at it. Very few people stay, and I'll just use my office because I'm most familiar with my numbers. If you have a secretary that makes $42,000, but we're hiring lawyers in the county for $35,000, you just have to decide if that's what you want to do or not, okay? Or you decide if you have a cap. Because if you have a secretary that makes $42,000, but the department director left because they got a job in Nelson County and make $15,000 more a year, and you hire somebody in at $32,000, that's a situation you're going to be in. I'm not saying one's more right or wrong. I'm just saying that's the direction that's needed for you to start on in. Okay, well, that's the first time I've
Offer
heard it.
somebody X number of dollars to go to work for me, and they say, yes, I will. That's it. And then here's what anybody else is making. You make an agreement, you have basically a contract with the employer. I'll hire you for 20 months. I don't even have time. Gentlemen's agreement. You can't do this.
This question right here
Her year as one
has
official.
been my major problem. How do I write something for you? Do I know what direction you all want? Because it's not you're asking me to make the policy. If you all want to vote and decide that you want department, that's great. At least I have a direction. This is the first time we talked about it.
In the committee meeting, I was asked to request, make a motion, which I have not done yet. To request
incorporate them in our current schedule.
In the production of the new handbook, or just make these the job descriptions from now till whenever.
If you want to do department by department, everything based department by department, that's an excellent idea. If you want to do countywide, it's really not. But it makes no difference. It's whatever you all want to do, you establish the policy.
I think in the order to save time today, perhaps we need to just all think about that, about this handbook thing, and write down ideas maybe or something, and then we can make a date for a special meeting, and then take all of our ideas and see where we go from there, and perhaps go ahead and do a committee. I mean, we're just going to have to do something that where we all of our ideas are put together. So I think we need to move on today, quite honestly, and just table this thing for a special meeting. That's my idea.
Is the salary committee powerless to do anything? If we had a meeting Thursday night, we made a decision to do it, and now we're not. If this is the way the committee's going to work, I don't have time. I can do other things. If we have a committee and the committee makes a suggestion and then it gets thrown out, that's a waste of time. I think Mr. Camino would probably say the same thing. He's not here, so I can't speak for him.
Sandy,
Well, I was just gonna ask you then, have you already made the decision that it's gonna be, uniform throughout the county, or gonna be that department? I mean, because that's the first decision, so you already made that decision.
I don't know that any final decisions have been made. We are a committee discussing things. And I thought it was agreed that we needed job descriptions to start with, to work on toward consolidated everything into whether it's a county plan or a department plan, even if you have departments that are all under the county. So I mean, there should be rules that overload for different departments, but then there can be different departmental differences also. But none of those decisions have been made. We're just working toward some kind of plan.
I see, I thought that Monica said that it would be best to start with that first, deciding on that first. Did I misunderstand?
No, I can't speak for the committee. I'm not going to sit here and say the committee's waste time, I don't think it is. But I don't know that the committee had all the facts to know what probably needs to be decided. I think that's one of the major decisions that has to be made is decide how you want to do your grouping for job descriptions. The second thing that needs to be decided is annual rates. Are they going to be based on merit? Are they going to be based on performance? They're going to be based on years of service? Because I know that Magistrate Bradshaw looks at the job descriptions as separate from everything else, but it is really not. It's going to be linked through your whole handbook. You can even look at the one we have now. They are linked together, and they need to go in the same direction. And I think before any committee can be effective, those decisions have to be made. And I do share your frustration, and not to be a dead horse, but this is exactly why I quit working on it, okay? Because I don't have time to waste either. And I think for it to be good and a worthwhile product that will survive the course of time, you have to give direction to your committee on these things. And then your committee can take off from there and make suggestions to you all, and I think that you all should listen to those suggestions. But until then, they're just fire in the wind.
Chuck, I think the committee felt like the job we couldn't move forward until job descriptions were set. And I think that's why you had suggested that Magistrate Bradshaw make that motion, because I know Mr. Camino job descriptions is Magistrate Bradshaw. So I think that's why we have decided, you know, it's such a massive undertaking when you start looking at everything. So I think that we have decided that that's the very first step, that nothing really could be done until job descriptions were set. So that's how, it was a baby step, but it took us 2 hours to come to that.
Well, I'm sure this body will decide which direction to go, up, down, sideways, or in a circle.
Could I say something?
Yes, Ms. Lewis, yes.
I haven't seen the handbook, but I think you have to use the old handbook to start with on page 1 and look at whatever that is. And then you have to say, there needs to be some work on this. I don't know what all the jobs are, but I think you need to start at the top and work with that and put down, what are the jobs that we have, you know. If you have to use the old handbook to build the new handbook. And another first that you have to do, you have to decide whether it's countywide or by department. You have to have those discussions about that first. You can't just pull out the secretary first. It has to be, you have to go by the old handbook to make the new handbook. And that's the least I know about it because I haven't seen the old handbook. But you have to use it as a building block first.
Thank you, Lois.
Well, what she was saying, is the old handbook so flawed that it needs to be this garbage and start from scratch?
It does, and the reason is the law has changed. A big part of it, the law has changed at the state and federal level. And it mentions no characterizations, no job descriptions whatsoever. So as far as using it in the past, I will approve Lois on the sense that if you want to look through it, make sure you didn't leave anything out that may have been there before. But it will have to be scrapped.
It's just a skeleton structure that you have to start with something. You can't just throw it out and say, okay, now, what do we do? Because you're going to be floundering around.
No, we've got examples from other counties that update theirs.
Right. You have to use other counties and yours. And if you find something that needs to be changed, then you have to work with that.
Deputy Judge, do you have any suggestions, any words of wisdom? Because you've been with my administration since 2007, and the first court didn't want to do a new handbook and fix the mistakes. This court is willing to try to fix them.
Well, it's definitely needed, and I think they all know that it is such a massive undertaking. And I understand everybody's frustration, especially the county attorneys, because she can only do as she's directed. And I think she said earlier that she already had 80 pages, and that's probably not half of it. That it's like once you get into one area, then it kind of opens up a can of worms for a whole lot of other things that you hadn't thought about until you started thinking about this area. So it's a huge undertaking.
John, this is the worst one that votes. And if you feel like making a motion, at least we can get something accomplished. And I suggest that the salary committee get Mike's on it. I suggest the salary committee get with the county attorney and have her email the salary, have her email those things. She just stated, so we can start looking at that too. You do have a motion that you can make, and we can at least get something, we can start something, because this court is willing to fix the problems. I'll second that motion. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? June 4th. John, in your motion, do you mind putting in there and consulting with the county attorney? Well, not really consulting, but just asking for. Yeah, her funding has been cut. She is suffering due to this court taking her funding away. All right, we'll deal with that later on. And I hope that we can fund her so she can do what we need to have accomplished in this county. That's not fair to her whatsoever. All the people that are working for her. Now, let's, in your motion, I don't want to make it complicated, let's just see that the salary committee gets with the county attorney on those things that you just stated. Okay.
I'll be happy to meet with the salary committee, but I am dead serious when I'm telling you all, it will be at least the second week of May before that can happen. I don't have a 3-hour Monday. You know, I'm down here calls 8 to 10 o'clock every single line, just trying to get through that.
Now, Monica, let me ask you, with this motion, what do you see, I know you already talked about putting the part for the horse, but with this motion being made, what do you see that, what motion do we need to make? What do we need to fix?
If you're asking me, I think you need to answer those questions that I just laid out there.
Okay.
I don't know whether you're prepared to do that today or not.
Will you email those questions in the office? Thank you, I appreciate that. No, I'll get these out. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion?
I want to hear my motion.
Yeah, please.
Magistrate Bradshaw made the motion that the directors of the county departments produce a job description for all employees and have them ready for the June 4th meeting and present them. And then you asked to have included that the salary committee meets with the county attorney for discussion.
No, I'll take that
Take that out.
Please.
My motion.
Okay.
Oh, very good. You're listening right now. Now, John, do we want to, she just said meeting, to be specific. The fiscal court meeting in June, correct?
June
Or
4th.
this is supposed to be.
Well, it could be salary, it could be personnel. Okay, any other questions or discussion? And Ms. Brandon, you call roll.
Ms. Ashcroft?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. All right, number one, under new business, presentation of Plum Creek Watershed Conservancy District's 2013, 2014 budget. We don't have to vote on this, do we, Donna?
No.
Just present it, so I'm presenting it. I'm presenting this budget for the record. Number two. I think we have to work on this one, I don't know. This is the Bullitt County Conservation District Annual Plan of Work and Budget for 2014. May I remind you that, well, Monica, correct me if I'm wrong, may I remind the court that the Conservation District does have us in a legal condition? Is that a proper word?
They sued us. Not a legal condition, they sued us.
Well, with all these terms for all these things. Okay, so much I can see this.
And if you all want to challenge this, you need to do exactly what we did in the fall, but we need to do it preferably before June 30th. Send a letter itemizing what your challenges are.
That's it.
I just got this morning. I'm not prepared to do anything.
I finally said this.
because they were behind.
Deputy Judge, wasn't this, that's fine, Tom, that's fine. But for my sanity, Deputy Judge, wasn't this in the packets?
I didn't hear the packets, it was in my packet.
Okay, let me rephrase that. I didn't get it till, I think I got it in the mail Friday. Anyway, I haven't had enough time.
Okay, all right. So table it till, shoot, what is that, April 2nd? Table it till the next meeting, the April meeting.
I'll make a motion to table it until April 16th.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table this soil conservation plan of work and budget till April 16, 2013. Any questions or discussion? Okay, Ms. Plant, you may call the roll.
Ms. Ashcraft?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Last but not least, presentation of the Shepherdsville Bullitt County Tourist and Convention Commission audit for year ended June the 30th, 2012. Donna, we don't need a motion on this, do we? It's presented for the record. Okay, one last thing. Under new business, action is requested on the TNT security agreement for Red Cross building. Now, this is the same company that was being used. Action requested, up or down vote, please.
I have a question about this, because I just reviewed this. Why are we voting on this if the contract with the Red Cross? Are you paying this bill? Because if you're paying this bill, the contract needs to be with Bullitt Fiscal Court. If they're paying this bill, why are we voting on it?
They're asking us to pay this bill.
Well, the contract's written between them and and TNT, not Bullitt Fiscal Court.
Now, we have paid it in the past, am I correct? When they were over here?
Purpose, yes.
Okay, y'all, when the Red Cross was over here at the multi-purpose building, we paid the security costs for the Red Cross and
For
multi-purpose.
this whole building.
For the whole building.
So do we need to, send it back to do
I'm
it?
sure, I mean, you all decided to do have to do a new contract with our
Okay, you should vote on it contingent the contract is by in between TNT and Bullitt Fiscal Court. And they'll have to amend that. I don't know if we get a discount because I think they cover several of our other buildings. I don't know if that's factor
They
in.
know it's us because they've been doing
So do we want to take action and you can see what the cost is? 5,000.
That's to install, it looks like to install it and you've got a monthly fee,
Monthly fee of
$65.
about $60,000.
I have checked with K-Pro to see if we had to do this in order for them to insure the building. We do not. He said, from a risk management side, of course, he would recommend it, but we don't have to have this for them, for us to have coverage through K-Pro for this building.
Yeah, Bob.
Hey, what kind of sequence this have on the senior citizen building? Evidently, the Red Cross, we were sharing the same building, they're moving, and they pick up the insurance on senior citizens, or how does that work?
That's a good question. Does anybody know if we are paying the, Ken, are we paying the insurance? Are we paying the security for the multi-purpose building?
TNT, the security,
Uh-huh.
yes. And that's why Red Cross is asking us to
still paying that.
Yes.
Well, then you're gonna cancel that, move it over to the other building, right?
No, we're not, no, say it one more time. Say it one more time.
Well, if Red Cross is moving out of the senior citizen building to go to another building, you're talking about insuring the security for the new building, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're just dropping them to senior citizen building?
No,
No?
I don't want to
You're
draw.
dropping for the fire department,
This is not insurance. This is,
security,
security.
right, I understand. I keep saying
Well,
that,
you'll
but
still have it,
we still have security over there, right?
sure, yeah.
Okay.
But now they want it for their building.
So Bob, this is TNT Security.
Right,
And we're paying it for multi-purpose.
okay,
And now Red Cross is asking us, well, you, taxpayer, to pay it for
okay,
the building they're in now on
Okay.
Southwell Drive.
okay, I understand. Thank you. It's your fault.
What is it? No, the county attorney said we could pass this contingent of
Getting the correct plan.
So we need to make a motion and. I make a motion to accept the TNT security agreement with Red Cross Building.
I'll second that motion. We have a motion and a second contingent on a corrected contract. We have a motion and a second on the TNT security for the building that the Red Cross is in now. Any questions or discussion? And, Ms. Brown, call the please.
Ms. Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, that's all I have. Does anybody have anything else?
We need to go in executive session.
Okay, someone want to make a motion for executive session?
That all have to say is, make a motion to go into executive session.
For litigation.
Okay, we got a motion, we have a motion and a second. Okay, and, Ms. Brown, any questions or discussion? Ms. Brown, please call.
Ms. Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carried.
So the next is before they come back.
I'm not doing it. George, you can't ask any more questions. You're the one who's like, bro.
Take you going out there and put it out.
Hey, motherfucker, get there, help me.
Do you have an empty cell on our mail, maybe you can put it on fine?
Everybody, I'll get that hour, I'll get
We're just taking those off for the I'm doing fine. How you doing? How you doing? Fine.
I gotta get out get out of jail. was gonna take the Shepherdsville Bridge on this tonight.
So many questions. All kinds of questions. Just trust us. Just trust
Yeah, on the wrong seat. Drink a beer in there, but I don't think I need all.
So I think.
Take a beer in there, but I don't think I need it. I think I need a beer in there, do you?
Open session. We hear a second, any questions or discussion on going back into open session? And, hearing none, Ms. Brandon Colville, please.
Ms. Ashcraft?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay, Ruth, you want to?
And I would like to make a motion for the attorneys to drop the case against the treasurer and litigation we have against the treasurer, drop that. And that's all I have in my motion.
Do I hear a second?
So you need to add without prejudice, prejudice.
I would say for the county,
I'll second
it's not for the attorneys, it's for the county.
Oh, for the county, I'm sorry, for the county. All right.
Without prejudice, do you want it without prejudice? Okay.
Motion made, motion second.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Who made a second?
I did.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Okay, I want to add that by dismissing this lawsuit against the treasurer without prejudice, this will, I can't even help me out, this will stop the treasurer from suing the employees of our county. Is that correct?
That's correct, they've actually already been added to the suit, they have not been served.
So by doing this, this will stop the county employees from being sued by the county treasurer. Okay, any other questions or discussion?
That's what their lawyer has said to, Amy County Shepherdsville.
It's, that's not a,
To me directly.
She included on when we brought a suit against her in order to, regarding the city tax. And now she's decided that she will just, all the ones that did not get city tax taken out, she would sue them.
which is very unfortunate. So again, the county treasurer will sue the county employees if this lawsuit is not dropped. And I, for one, believe in our county employees. I believe that as a judge executive, I need to protect them. I know Ruthie feels that same way. I think it's incredibly disturbing that this has happened in the first place by a county employee. Is everybody understanding what's going on here? It's your tax dollars. Okay, call roll, Ms. Brown.
Ms. Ashcraft?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Unfortunately, I want to say, I will say yes to protect the employees of this county.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Do I hear a motion to adjourn unless someone has anything else to bring up?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. Thank you, boss. Any questions or discussion? And,
You're gonna have to pay.
hearing none, Ms. Brown, call roll.
Ms. Ashcraft?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell? Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes, ma'am. See you later. See you later.
Thanks to the county. We overdo county.
Sean, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
How about that? Well, I think I spent almost a year before I spent. It doesn't take long to spend it all.
Yep, she said that.
I didn't go Taylor still get my
Oh, again. No, not on Kevin's salary.
Oh, it's fine, what? Oh, yeah,
It'd be worse than a lot of contests, grand hamburger.
Is that who it was?
I think
And then he
so.
wants me to bring in cookies?
Yeah, that sounds like him.
He was tall, right?
Yeah,
Real tall guy.
the one back here that, yeah,
Yeah.
You mean all about that? You trying to forget?
I mean, I agree with you.
Those are right direction, that's.
That's actually board meeting.
School board?
Yeah, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I forgot, I don't have that one on my calendar. Because I know you all are in good shape, you know. Rolling in something, and then, you know, that's all that counts.
John, you want to lunch? Chocolate.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
Man, what we doing?
If you pick,
I don't want Mexican, I guess.
what does that matter? You pick. Precious?
See you over there.
Yeah, see you over there.